I'm Shelley Lockhart. We're here today with Judi Moreo, and she is one of the country's most popular motivational speakers and the author of the book, You Are More Than Enough. Judi, in You Are More Than Enough, you talk about fear and how fear holds so many people back. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. Fear is something that holds a lot of people back, and sometimes I don't even believe people know it's the fear that holds them back. But we are afraid of many things. We're afraid of success. We're afraid of failure. We're afraid of what other people will think. We're afraid to stand up and speak. We're afraid of looking the wrong way or doing the wrong thing. There are so many fears in life. And what are we really afraid of anyway? When I think of fear, I think one of the best lessons I had of fear in my life was when I visited a friend of mine in Cape Town, South Africa, and I had never been out of America before. And these people lived right on the beach, sort of out of town. Everyone went to town except me. I decided to stay home that evening. And while I was at home, I heard a scream outside on the beach. And I was so afraid because I was in another country and I didn't know what was going to happen. So I went in the kitchen and I got a butcher knife. And I sat in my pajamas with the butcher knife in my hand, and I just sat there, frozen. I couldn't move, I couldn't do anything. And I sat there like a couple of hours with this butcher knife. And then my friends all came home from town, and there I sat with this butcher knife, and they said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I heard a scream." And they said, "Where was it?" And I said, "It was outside." And they said, "So you didn't see any danger?" And I said, "No." They said, "Did anyone threaten you?" I said, "No." They said, "Well, why are you sitting there with the butcher knife?" I said, "So I can protect myself if anything happens." And my one friend looked at me and he said, "Well, why didn't you get up and lock the door?" Now think about that. Wouldn't it have made much more sense if you're afraid of something to be proactive, to get up and see if the door's locked and lock the door, than to sit there with a butcher knife for an hour being miserable? So my concept here is that fear immobilizes us. Fear keeps us from moving forward. We want to go through the fear. We want to take action. And so many of the things that we're afraid of, if we prepared ourselves, we wouldn't have to be afraid of it. Public speaking is the #1 fear of most people, according to the Book of List. The #2 fear nowadays is the fear of speaking to a person one-on-one, like going to a networking event and having to go up to people you don't know and speak to them for the first time. These are both interpersonal skills. If we would prepare for it, if we would study, if we would stand up and do it, we'd soon find that there's nothing really to be afraid of, because the people in our audience are people just like us.
Now, what advice would you give to people who let fear hold them back? How do you encourage them to be bolder, to step out in your life and get out of your little cubicle and do something different?
Normally, when I'm speaking with someone and they say, "No, I can't do it," or "I'm afraid," or "I just can't make it happen," I ask them questions. I ask them questions like, what's going to happen if you try this? Could you deal with that? What's going to be different if you try this? How would that affect your life? Who's going to be affected by this? Will you lose a friend because of it? Will you feel better about yourself if you do it? Will you feel worse about yourself if you do it? And why? They're just tons of questions that I ask people, because we have to get beyond what looks like the fear, because sometimes what looks like the fear is really a symptom of the fear. So we want to ask questions to find out what's the underlying fear. Usually it comes from somewhere in the past. We're focused on something that happened in the past, not on the possibility of the future. So let's look at the future then. What could happen if we did this? What might be the best thing that would happen? Could you live with that? Who might you meet because of it? Where might you go because of it? Would you want to do that? Would you like to try that? What's keeping you from it? Why is it you just won't take that first step? I don't know, because I'm afraid. The fear is there. It's scary. But when we take that step, then we can see the next step. And then when we get to the top of the hill, we can see down the road. And so take the first step and try not to be so resistant to fear. I use the word try. Some people say, well, there is no try. But what I mean by that is the TRY is an acronym to respect yourself. So respect yourself enough to make the effort to deal with the change.
Thank you, Judi.